Welcome to Reddit Reads r/ProRevenge. Our first Reddit post is from Kmikitsivin. Someone scammed me for 280 and a lot of other people for even more, but I wasn't accepting defeat. First off, I would like to state that I am in fact an idiot who has learned his lesson. My birthday is coming up, and I decided to treat myself to a new pair of sneakers. Been having a good year at my job, and I don't really spend much on myself. I've always wanted a pair of Yeezys, so I got online and found a pair at a really good price. When I was messaging the seller, he even offered to take the payment through Chase, which I assumed would have me protected, so we used the Zelle Quick Pay feature. Before I sent the money, he even sent me a pic of the sneakers and pics of several receipts from the USPS showing that he sells several pairs of sneakers and actually ships them. I agree, and we begin a conversation on IG. Guy seems pretty legit. Doesn't look like he needs to scam people. He seems legit enough. No response after the funds are sent. A day goes by with no answers. At this point, I chalked it up to a loss and learned my lesson. Should have spent the extra 40 and got it from a verified site. Only trust PayPal. Also, do not use Zelle. Chase told me because I used Quick Pay. There is nothing they could do except contact the police. They had no fraud protection for Zelle, even though I paid it through Chase. Turns out Zelle is a scammer's best friend. At that point, I'm more pissed that I allowed myself to get scammed, not so much about the money. I'll survive. This is when I go into full 7 mode and start my revenge. I find the guy on FB and put his name into the white pages and find his home number, and I call it. The kid still lives with his parents, so I figure they should know what's going on. I speak with his mother, and she has no idea what's going on but that he isn't home. I said, unless you want cops at your door, he better call me. 5 minutes later, I get a restricted call. It's him. He has no idea who I am and had not been speaking with me at all. Actually, turns out his phone was stolen on night and didn't have his IG account locked or his Venmo account. The guy who stole his phone used his Grailed account and IG to post shoes, and then never sent any of them. Happened to a bunch of people in a few days. This is where the guy fucked up. The real guy tracked the Venmo account and matched it to a very similar FB and IG account name. I decided to throw a dart in the dark and sent a pic of the FB account to the guy who scammed me. First response, where did you get that? For whatever reason, the scammer decided to text me from his real number. At that point, now I have his number. I told him that the real person told me there was an active police investigation and this was the info they needed. I now decided to bullshit and told him that the Chase fraud specialist is waiting for me to send the pictures of the receipts he sent me. I told him they could use the very visible tracking numbers to find the seller and their billing info since it was a debit transaction, and that I now had FB photos of him and a name and number. I started demanding my money back or I would turn everything over, and in 5 minutes I had all my cash back. He made me promise to delete everything if he sent it all back. I even gave him some answers about the fake conversation I had with Chase. He was trying to find out what if he knew, which was everything. Best part was he also used his personal account to send me the money back, which shows his real name had a slightly different one on FB. The account would also have all of his billing info. He wasn't a very good scammer. All of the accounts were deleted and I've been blocked. Doesn't matter, I'm sending everything to the poor guy this scammer has been destroying. The poor guy said it's been the worst 4 days of his life. Luckily, Venmo covered all the money that the scammer transferred out of his account, but he also wants revenge. Hopefully he will get it now, since we now know exactly who it is. I did go through a verified site and purchased the shoes for real with no worries. I had to have them on principle at that point, lol. Hopefully he will be arrested. TLDR, got scammed, tricked the scammer into thinking I knew who he was for sure. He verified everything when he got scared and gave more useful info, got my money back, and turned everything over to the guy the scammer stole the phone from. Edit guy took everything I sent him to a detective that he is working with. Let's see if anything happens. This comment is from Dalmacio. Well done. Sometimes it only takes one stubborn victim. This comment is from Kwikitsivin. Thanks. Stubborn is an understatement. Haha. This comment is from Pneumonium Work. For those of us who are not hip and older. IG Instagram. Grailed is an second-hand website for high-end clothing. Venmo and Zelle are digital wallets used to make and receive payments. Good story about ProRevenge. Glad to hear you got the money back. Now, a word from today's sponsor. Make sure to donate to my Patreon down in the description below to get early access to videos, participate in special patron-only events, and other goodies. Any amount of money is greatly appreciated. It makes it easier for me to make the content that I love making, and I know you guys love too. Now back to the video. Our next Reddit post is from Olshity. Sometimes I wish I had a few money. My aunt used to be an assistant for a multimillionaire down-to-earth CEO of a small company. According to my aunt, he is one of the nicest guys she has ever met, and is probably the best boss she has ever had. There was this one time my aunt hitched a ride with the CEO to a business event at a mall where they struggled to find parking. The Civic was almost out of their spot when they see a BMW 3 pull up by the spot and waited on the opposite side of where my aunt was. They eventually found a spot that's about to be vacant, and so as any normal courteous person would do, they waited a few feet away from the Civic that was backing up and had their turn signal on, indicating that they found the spot first. The Civic finally leaves the spot, and lo and behold, two teeny-looking douchebags exit the vehicle and snickered at the CEO driving. The CEO politely told the kids something along the lines of, "Hey, I found the spot first. I would appreciate it if you could look for your own spot." The kids laughed and told the CEO, "Sorry man, too slow," then walked away from the parking spot towards the mall entrance. The CEO paused and calmly told my aunt to exit the vehicle. Now, I think it's important to mention that the CEO was driving a big vehicle, something like an old Range Rover, according to my aunt. My aunt got off the vehicle. The CEO suddenly backed up a bit and rammed the parking 3 onto the wall it was facing, smashing both the front and the rear of the German sedan. My aunt and the kids were stunned. The sound of the collision caught the attention of the two kids, and they quickly ran back to the scene. The CEO asks my aunt to hop back in. The kids, still stunned, while the CEO says sorry, too rich, throws his business card at the kids and drives away like a fucking boss. The CEO said, "Yeah, I did pay for damages." A few weeks after the incident, my aunt asks the CEO if ever he had to pay for damages. But the faces of those kids after I totaled their car was priceless. This comment is from Solarna. Someone just watched Fried Green Tomatoes. Tawanda. This comment is from Wiskylity. Face it girls, I'm older, and I have more insurance. This comment is from Olshity. I'm in my mid-20s, and I have absolutely no idea what that movie is about. But after YouTubing, I found the scene similar to what my aunt has described. To be honest, I'm speechless, and I don't know what to say. I completely understand why people are calling bullshit. Either my aunt is a liar, or the CEO loves the movie, or it just happened. Our next Reddit post is from Drumlin. I got revenge on my neighbor, and he still has no idea I even did anything to him. My neighbor from a couple of doors down and I had a long-running feud. It all started when his dog came into my backyard, and my dog attacked it. I was nearby and able to call my dog off before it got serious, but the other dog had a couple of bite wounds. The neighbor wanted me to pay the vet bill. He declined the offer, took me to small claims court, and lost. When he threatened me with a lawsuit, I offered to pay half, even though I owed him nothing. It was his dog that was off the leash and in my yard. After all, the trial lasted all of 3 minutes when the judge found in my favor. That set into motion him starting to fuck with me on a regular basis. My garbage cans would get knocked over every trash day. He would honk his horn and flip me off if he drove by my house. It was all stupid petty crap. He tried to get my 10-year-old son arrested for riding another neighbor's mini bike, never called the cops on their kids, just mine. But it was a lot of stupid petty crap. We eventually grew tired of it and filed a restraining order against him. Things settled down at that point, but I was not yet satisfied. We dropped the legal case against him when we received a letter from his lawyer stating that he would refrain from any sort of contact with any of my family for a period of 2 years. I had a desire to get revenge, but never acted on it. I had been staying on the high road through all of this, not responding to any of his bullshittery in any way. Then one day, I hatched my plan of evil genius. I was in the hardware store, and I noticed some Japanese beetle traps. These traps are just a plastic bag with a scent pack. The beetles are drawn to the scent, fall in the bag, and can't get out. They also sold refill packages of the scent packs, only 4 per package. My neighbor has a very large rose garden in his front lawn. It is his pride and joy. Japanese beetles love roses. So I bought 4 packages of the refill packs. The scent pack is a waxy substance in a shallow plastic cup. I put the packs in the freezer overnight to allow me to pull the wax out easily. The next morning, I woke up at 3 a.m. I popped the wax squares out of their cups and put them in a baggie. Then I crept over to my neighbor's house and spread the wax squares in the mulch under his rose garden, covering them from view with a bit of the hardwood mulch. That day was a hot one. By 11 a.m. it was north of 90 degrees F. I figured the wax had probably melted into the dark mulch. Also by 11 a.m. the Japanese beetles were starting to arrive at my neighbor's roses. I went on a bike ride later in the evening and could see a small swarm of them attacking the roses. My neighbor had not yet noticed what was happening. By noon the next day, there was a freaking cloud of them. There had to be hundreds, if not thousands. My neighbor noticed. That afternoon I could see him spraying them and spreading 7 powder and waving his arms in the air in frustration. They were everywhere in his front lawn and wreaking havoc on his roses. By the 3rd day, there were thousands of the beetles, if not tens of thousands. By the end 4th day, there was nothing left of his rose garden other than a few tattered leaves and the thorny stalks. I had never seen so many in a single place. Those damned scent packs must have drawn every Japanese beetle in for miles around. And that was it. The deed was done, and I was satisfied and laughing. Quietly to myself, but laughing and laughing. And I never told a soul what I did, not even my wife. This was a few years ago, and his rose garden is fully recovered now. And it will stay beautiful so long as he keeps being a quiet neighbor. This comment is from Naglus. That's the real one way to not get caught doing something. Resist the urge to tell anyone you did it. Like us. This comment is from Dagriat Pinguini. This comment is from Object Subject Verb. I was disappointed to hear his roses are oak now. I'm a monster. That was Reddit Reads r/ProRevenge. If you like this content, please subscribe and click the bell icon so you are notified of new uploads. We upload new videos every day. Also subscribe to our Patreon, as that will help us a lot. See you next time.